this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, and it is Paper Pumpkin time. I've just picked up Paper Pumpkin on the way to go play disc golf. Well, actually driving in the soccer fields. And as soon as I get home, I will get started. Alright, I am home. I have the kit, and I wanted to share a quick story. I was supposed to pick this up. We had planned on our move from up north in Wildwood down to Peace River Thousand Trails. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and along the way we could have taken a left off of Highway 17 and gone one block over to the post office to pick up Paper Pumpkin. But 20 miles before we got there, somebody on the passenger side in the slow lane came up honking at us, pointing at the trailer. I looked back and there was smoke. So we pulled over, and to make the long story short, thank goodness Hub is very mechanically inclined, because aside from using an emergency service for a tow, we had three options: emergency service for a tow, an RV freight company that deals with big rigs and diesels and stuff, offered for a 3-hour minimum, $125 an hour trip to come down 35 minutes and repair the tire. The bearing, the outer bearing, the small one toward the side of the tire that you see, had just like melted into this thin little piece of wire. It looked really weird, and obviously something failed, who knows what. And the trailer is 4 years old. We do maintain everything on the system, as well as our truck. Everything is on the new side and well maintained. And Hub had to take apart the other tire or wheel assembly to see how it all went and find out what pieces were missing. And it ended up that we separated the truck from the trailer. He drove 5 miles south to O'Reilly's, paid $12 for a new outer bearing, drove back. I think he only was gone 15-20 minutes tops. I stayed at the trailer because it's like everything in our home, and I was not going to leave it alone there on the side of the highway. We had lots of people stop by, probably 6 people, 2 cops, everybody just making sure we were okay. If we needed a ride, they would offer us a ride to go get a part, and everything worked out really well, and I felt very loved here in Florida. It was only 74 or so, overcast most of the day. We ended up being out in the sun, in the sunshade, the whole afternoon while working on it, and we ended up making it to our destination by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So as we drove past the post office where my Paper Pumpkin was waiting, it was 4:04 p.m. and they close at 4. So I had to wait till this morning to get it. I do highly urge that you have emergency road service options to you. We have 2. We used to have 3, and we were surprised that we didn't have the 3rd, but we must not have re-upped it. We have State Farm Insurance that has roadside assistance. We have AAA, which is who I called to figure out what the options were. We really just wanted somebody to drive us the part. That's all we needed. He already took everything apart, knew what needed to be done, had the tools to do it. And so he did. Hub toyed with paying the 3-hour minimum charge plus the price of the part to have them come and do it, but he's like, nope, I can do this. I am confident, so let's just have me do it. And it worked out fine. We do want to do some more work. We will take all of the wheels off and check everything out carefully again to make sure that anything else isn't amiss in there that should be a certain way, make sure everything is good to go. And then we're going to head over at the end of the month to the great outdoors on the coast. Okay, so back to Paper Pumpkin. It was very scary, but when things like this happen, we've had a few incidences on the road. We have water handy. There was a fire involved, that's why there was smoke. So we always carry a case, like a milk crate, which carries 4-gallon jugs of water, and we used all 4 gallons of water to get the fire out. You know, the fear with it being part of the trailer, with the heat that was generated causing the fire, is that the trailer itself would get damaged, and nothing was damaged. The guy who warned us very quickly. We pulled over immediately and called water immediately, and we were off and running, and everything, phew, looked okay, and there wasn't really even any damage done that we could see, aside from that bearing being totally destroyed. All right, so this month's Paper Pumpkin, on to happier things. Change is beautiful. I see that for whatever reason this was sealed. It was packaged in a shrink wrap, and this edge is a little bit curled. I'm not sure that it could have happened while in transit, so it might have gotten curled in the assembly somehow. We have, for the spot, it is Melon Mambo, and we have butterfly, front view, and a side view, a caterpillar, I believe in you, beautiful things take time, every day is a new day, I am so proud of who you've become, and may this new season hold wonderful new experiences. Now, for the inside, oh, there was a flyer talking about the new in colors. They have been revealed to us. Oh, so this is actually interesting. All subscribers for the next month's kit in May will have a chance to win a golden voucher inside their kit. A golden voucher is worth $25 worth of Stampin' Up! Products, and it is your chance to expand your new in color, and the in colors are here. I'm looking: Sweet Sorbet, Parakeet Party, Orchid Oasis, Tahitian Tide. This color is kind of a funny color. It's the lighter, it's the other blue. And because I'm so curious, I'm going to go get my, I'm going to stop and bring out, because I have the color swatches, so I want to show you the swatches and give you the name of the 5th color. All right, I am back. And here is the Tahitian Tide, which is the light blue. Orchid Oasis, which perhaps that's what that is supposed to be. Ah, Starry Sky. So I had it wrong. This looks more like this to me, but it must be this lighter color. Starry Sky is the darker color. Sweet Sorbet and Parakeet Party. So those are the 5 new in colors, so you can just have a sneak peek. They will all be available March 3rd. If you are on my customer list via going online and creating an account at Stampin' Up! And then choosing me as your demonstrator, you did receive, or will very shortly receive, the new annual catalog. And once you're on my list, you receive all of the catalogs. All right, so on to this month's kit. I always save the tissue. My trusty knife that will forever remain the same. Someday, look at, I'm actually almost to the end of the blades, though they are very small. It looks like I have 4 blades left after this one. So there might be a time when I need to replace it, unless I can find the replacement blades. I already see something fun that I want to point out. All right, so these, I really love that Stampin' Up! Is going with non-traditional shapes. They have the beach glass and the pebbles, and in the last couple of kits they've done some interesting odd shaped little embellishments, so these are going to be fun. We have dimensionals. Oh my goodness, I'm just so happy with how they've been handling their envelopes. 3 patterns. That is so cool. So that means I'll get to take one of each of these apart and use those in the extended supplies. I have not seen this kit at all. It actually looks very beautiful. We've got fancy folds. We have die cuts. multiple sheets, actually. I believe there are 3 sheets of these. The fancy folds are 3 each of 3 designs. Floral, and then look, there's another fold out, and there is a fun place on the back here for you to write on, front and back. Awesome. This guy's a triple fold as well. I probably will figure out that the folds are a certain way. I'll have to play with that. And then the third one has a fancy night and day. These pop out. And then you close it. And it's a moon. And then even more of these stars come out. And even the back, look at that. So lots of materials to play with and do different fun things with. Okay, so what are we don't see, I don't see any trim, so I'll probably have to come up with trim, and I will probably pull some inks. And already I see that I have some pieces which I have some little shallow bins to put them in. I am going to now, before we do this, I'm going to show you the projects. Here's the projects as intended to be used. Yeah, so it folds and then you flip it over to the back this is the way the card presents itself. And here you've got a little tag to put on the top, and then you can open it up, and it looks like this is going to be some die cuts for a 3D floral element, and then the back is indeed where you write your message. Very nice. So I will be not doing the create per the instructions. I will get right to creating alternatives and be back shortly. I will of course come back as I start putting things together with any comments or notes that I have, as well as anything interesting supplies wise that I'm bringing to the table. And then of course after I do the mix and match segment, I will have a showcase at the very end of all of the different varieties of layouts to spark your imagination. So stay tuned. And I pulled out we got Melon Mambo, and I pulled out Granny Apple Green and Crushed Curry. So here are the die cuts, and those are the colors I've picked. And I want to go through some of the materials that I cut to show you the pieces, kind of go over what the pieces look like. Each envelope makes 3 pieces. I trimmed down the full backs to 4 by 5 1/4. I enjoy using the flap. The inside flap has a slight arc to it. There are only 3 envelopes of each style, so one of the things that I've done as a trick is here's a piece of white. I have not trimmed these down, but if I trim them down, you can have a nice arc top and bottom if you wanted to use up 2 envelopes. And in this case I could trim these down and have dual designs on like a collage. There's the 2 flaps on the sides that I always cut. There's the top of the flap. This is pretty much not usable, it's got glue on it, but I just keep it. And then the bottom of it is usable. It is actually quite tall, so you would have to cut it at the shortest angle to get a straight strip. The second design is the pink with the dots, and I haven't trimmed this one down yet. So its natural size is quite large, way over the size of the A2, because you're supposed to have the A2 fit inside it. The third one is the yellow with the stars. So these are the 3 extra backs. Then I've got the 3 arcs, and then I have the extra little strips. I cut out all of the die cuts, and then I also popped out all of the die cuts from this folded card, which you end up with 2 design options. On this one you get the sunny scene or you get the night stars, and this one has the moon. There are provided a couple of stars, and that is to make that a nice shooting star. So this is a nice one. It has holes cut in it, so you could use crushed curry, which is one of the colors. If you use the card as it's intended, when it folds clothes, it actually looks like this, and it has some blue stars and some white stars. Then you still put the yellow star. But I broke it apart to make 2 card fronts out of. And then I went ahead and took the trifold cards and broke those into individual pieces. So you have a choice on this one. There is the front all colored, there is the back, here's the back, and here is the front. So these pieces you could either trim down and do some sort of a collage. You could put them together, you could leave them apart. I will toy with them a little bit more and show them in some layouts. And then I have, for this particular card back, you can, you know, have a butterfly and have, I even did, these are just some basic ideas. I did a quick stamp so you could have the butterfly and the label popped up. I even grabbed some trim options. One for fun is the new, I don't think it says the color, Sweet Sorbet, which is actually a nice, in the family of the Melon Mambo, and it's a 1/8 inch nice foily metallic. And here it is in a bow. So that makes a nice design. The other, so I showed you the sun. Oh, and then on the back side of this one, you do have this that you could even up the matting, use it as a background. Same with the back of this one, and here is what the front looks like. Very nice scene. So again, you've got the butterfly and a sentiment and a bow that you could trim this down and have a nice mat. So those are the basics of the pieces. I then have gone ahead and prepared for some simple stamping. I have chosen a couple of sentiments, and the first one I will just do a single color. I really like this particular sentiment, every day is a new day, which absolutely rings true to us, being that we move all the time and we're always experiencing crazy things on the road. This is a nice sentiment. And then so there's a nice simple stamped card. Love the detail work on these stamps. Sheet. beautiful things take time is a wonderful sentiment. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce yellow and Granny Apple green. The other trims, while I'm prepping that, I have pulled, this is gray granite, and it has carried over. Then I took the light basic black and colored it very quickly, so I have a nice dark bow that could work. I had a really fun, it's kind of like the opposite. With the yellow star background, there's this moon cutout that could be used, and a label of some variety with a nice sentiment. You could even do the sentiment on the yellow, and then this lovely dark bow coordinates nicely. We also have these two different sizes of clouds. To play with. If it were me, I would be kind of cutting them off on the ends, having the sentiment here. And then the final trim I just have sitting on my desk is, of course, the Essentials Baker's Twine in 5 different colors, and this is the white. It is still here, but it is ever so slowly running out. So I'll have to get some more. All right, so we're going to do another stamping project. There, so I like that layout as a simple card, and then the one that's all over with the 3 colors. Love those 3 colors. All right, I'm going to go away now and continue on creating different bits and pieces, and come back for a mix and match, and maybe come back with some more parts and pieces if I find anything fun and different. All right, I'm back. I have decided every episode I show you the envelope cut up into a variety of pieces. So this time I'm challenging myself to use those pieces in my layouts. So I'm going to show you 3 different sets of cuts that I have done to these envelope pieces. There's always 3 cuts. I'm actually using 4 cuts. I am not using the arcs. So these arced pieces, which I have used before, I'm not using. And I am going to make myself take the remnants and use them. So each of the largest pieces, there's 3 different designs. I trimmed down 1/2 inch, top and side, because they are so large. So that is what my first cuts. I'm going to show you what I did. I didn't even adjust them at all, and I am going to show you just putting them on a background spread out. Now if you choose to cut up more envelopes, you will be able to put these closer together. These are on the back of a 3 3/4 inch white, and so you would put, perhaps, here, I'll just use this one because it has the least amount of things on it. Okay, so we're already piecing together a nice background. And so from here, you could choose to make it very simple and add a popped up sentiment, which I have a pop up somewhere here hiding. I might have to dig for that. So you'll have to envision it popped up. You could dress it up with any of the die cuts. You could decide, in this case, to keep it pretty simple because you've already got stars. You could add a couple of these extra stars. There are these very small black stars, and I would just use a dot of glue, the mono all-purpose adhesive, and then to finish it off, and I hope I remember, I'm going to pause in just a second to take a picture of this because it is turning into a nice layout. I have actually pulled from this is a gift from Libby. It is a whole bunch of her array of remnants of trim. If you have not already started your own remnants of trim, I highly recommend it, especially with the variety of trims that you're going to be getting over time with your paper pumpkin kits. I do have a selection of the non-cut pieces. Now these are all pieces, small little snippets, knots, bows, and I pulled out some extra little bows that I have already put together. This one I made fresh using a sneak peek of a new trim. This is a carryover trim. These trims are, I think the white is carrying over, but the cotton in the back and this baker's twine with the silver wrap is retiring. And so these bottom two are carrying over. So don't forget to save your scraps of trim to then go dig out. Like this knot actually was just sitting in my bag. I had put it in recently. So that is just a little helpful tip. And then you can pick a bow. And I think, and you could clean these strips up. I have not trimmed them up or made them equal in size in any way. They are just the random size that they came to be. I was gonna spread it out for a picture. And you could pop up whatever elements you wanted. You could pop up half of the strips and just the sentiment. You could use solid cardstock in any of the three colors. Instead of using your envelope background, I just grabbed it because it was close. And I am going to pause really quick to take a picture. Okay, so now I've taken, and I just made the strips in an angle. I made it horizontal. And that's the only change I made. There are, instead of stars, there's these yellow flowers. That is one way to play with the skinny strips that you get off of the very largest piece if you trim them down to 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so the other size of strip is the top of the flap that has the sticky that you lick to close it. And that turns into, I cut the pieces into 2 5/8 by 1 1/4. And you can pop up the clouds if you wanted. All right, I went ahead and swapped it out for the caterpillar, leaving on the 3 flowers. Beautiful things take time. You can pop the caterpillar up. I grabbed the white bow, or you could use the pink bow, and you could do this card again horizontally or vertically. So far I've got like 6 designs, and I've only used 2 different envelope remnants. So again, in one envelope, you're gonna get enough of these pieces to do 2 cards. Doing something fun with these strips, you can do them fun angles, just like the thin strips. But I am going to move on to the 3rd piece. Now this is the hardest remnant of the envelope to use, so I spent a little time coming up with a way to arrange it into something that would make a nice element on a card, and that is the double thick pieces that I cut off have a curve at the bottom and a little straight edge, and then a curve at the top. So I went ahead and grabbed some remnant pieces. These are misprint heavy cardstock, and I am going to put some adhesive on. Patterns and colors. Okay, so we have these 3 pieces. What can we do with them? I am just using, this is already trimmed down, so I would say that you could do somewhat like the 3 strips, and you would trim down the excess. You could have them go as far as you want. You could pop them up, and then I'm going to do, let's put this over here. Popped up, and you could either do a butterfly. You could even, if you really want the subliminal messaging of the beautiful things take time, I would pop up the caterpillar, pop up the butterfly. I would add some nice, this one's not going to look as complete because I did not trim down the pieces to fit. And then you can add a nice bow. And I think that that would also make a very nice card with a little bit more of a finished look with the rounded edges. All right, I'm ready to move on now to the main panels in the 3 different designs. And for this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and commit, and I'm going to say I would love to doodle around the edges. So this is a very simple handmade card. There you go, done. So the moon, which is very interesting to me, I think you could dress it up. You can put it either on the crushed curry background, you could emboss, you could pop up the background. Put one on the big star for the comet, and you see that it kind of went at an angle, and it would look very cute at an angle. You could trim it down. I have trimmed it down to 4 1/4 by 4 by 5 1/4, and you could trim it down a little bit more and add a couple of tilted angles. I have my white base under there I'm trying to hide. And what I really like about this particular one is it makes a very nice masculine card, which is of course my big challenge. Don't forget that you can sponge the edges. You can distress the edges. You can, like I said, do multiple layers, shrink, cut this down a little bit more. The inverse of the moon, that was the pop out from the background that I just showed you. So of course this one we would want to put reverse. You could decide to sponge it if you wanted, but because of the white stars, I just showed you doodling. You could doodle around the edges on this one. You could use the white happy birthday. So if you wanted to add just a pop of color, I have these little strips left over when I trimmed down the long ends down to the 3.5. This was the piece left over, and you could take any of these strips and add it. You can trim it down to make it narrower, make it wider, whatever you want. And something like that. You could use the white. I have this little white. Now this is a carrying over trim to the next annual catalog. And then I of course have these little pearls, just little sparkles. And this makes a lovely masculine card again. Cannot beat that. Okay, so I have, just to remind myself to give you guys more ideas, you can use the envelopes to do little lines as another layer, but you've also got any glimmers. This particular rainbow glimmer is retiring and it is wonderful. This piece, it has green on it and lavender, but this particular piece, which is left over, and I've been doing skinny strips. I would even consider cutting it in the middle and getting some of this lighter if I didn't want the darker tones. Vellum, so don't forget vellum as well, and you can distress edges, you can tear it, you can doodle on it. So now we're going to move on to the sun and the daytime. So you've got your nighttime scenes and your daytime scenes. So this is the daytime. You have to just pick your poison, and that's what you get. And I already had envisioned, I put some Wink of Stella on one of these, this little sparkly guy, and I love to put little pearls down the middle of them. I'm gonna actually take, these pearls are slightly rectangular, so I am gonna make them lengthwise. You could add more pearls to them if you wanted. You could add sequins to the center. You could decide a cloud just to make things more interesting would be nice. And just all sorts of ways that you can lay out this side of that panel. Other possibilities would be to trim this into thirds, either vertical or horizontal, if you wanted to break it into smaller chunks to get more out of it. There is, of course, we've got the caterpillar scene. So that would be very sweet. All right, so in addition, you have yet another panel, full size. A lot of these scenes that I have shown you will apply. And this is this scene. So we had the stars, we have the sun, we did the moon, we did the black floral. And now we have these birds. So I feel that a mat, you could trim this down as small as you want it. I really like this small strip to kind of tie into this matching color up above. I did pick one stamp set, stamp and die bundle actually, that is new in the upcoming catalog. So it's a sneak peek, and that is what my last segment is going to be. So this makes a great card. You could choose the pink or the white. I'm thinking that I'm finished with the full pieces. I haven't even had time to just look at a trifold and make a trifold. Any of these layouts that I am showing you can be adjusted for being used with the full fancy folds as they came. You just won't get as many miles out of it. So now my last piece is introducing one bundle. So this is a new bundle. It comes out, it's available starting May 3rd. It is called Happiness Abounds, and it comes with some really fun dies. In fact, when Libby and I were going through, we always go through the catalogs together. She's my upline, my team leader. We go through the catalogs together. We noticed a card fairly early in the catalog that had what looked like torn notebook paper, and we stopped everything we were doing to find which bundle had the pieces, and you either get the horizontal rectangles or the little circles, and yes, every single circle is cut as if it is ripped. Then you have this wonderful, just a kind of a partial die, and it has all of these little hearts. So here is what the hearts look like. You could easily save those. This particular cut is actually from one of the smaller panels, so one side is black with the dots and one side is green. So I love the fact that you can save all the little bits, which I put them all in my little shallow bin here, or my little thing that holds all my doodads, and you could save those and use those later for a shaker project. And I love the sentiments. This is where I got "You Are Wonderful in Every Way." Love all of them. And then I'm a colorist, so all of these flowers can be colored, which is of course awesome. So let's take this away and show you what we've got. First, I'm going to show you a layout. This is a vertical. Both of these are a little bit different. This particular one uses the long rectangle that would be used with like a plastic binding. And I'm using a piece of the big piece of the envelope that, as I said, I trimmed about 1/2 inch off the top and the side. And then this one has the cuts, and I envision it having the little caterpillar, absolutely having the beautiful things take time. You could make this straight or crooked. I am doing it crooked on purpose first, so you can see it, and then there's its wonderful bow, and I just think that's awesome. I love the little notebook paper look. And then we've got the little pearls that have gone off over onto the butterfly. Another cute way to handle this, if you didn't want to do like a dye treatment like I've done here, is to just use white. You can make it straight up and down and do a white heat embossing, as I mentioned earlier, on the black full panel floral. All right, and I do want to do this really quickly as a lined up project. I like when you do things at an angle, then things don't have to be so perfect looking, but this has been trimmed down very nicely to make a great, nice, perfectly aligned card. You could pop up the notepad layer as well as the sentiment layer and the caterpillar. Had a fifth, that's the fourth. I had a fifth pearl, but as what always happens, they end up getting left behind on whatever I had them stuck upon. And then of course we risk getting things off center. Boom, not too bad. All right. All right, so moving on to the final panel. There are still a couple of panels that I didn't do anything with that I'm just gonna go ahead and, this hasn't even been trimmed down, so let me trim it. So from their natural size, I only trimmed off to a little over 4 inches, so I just trimmed that much off to make this panel that was trimmed at the fold fit. And this is how easy it is to work with these. All right, folks, we're almost done. We are on the last one, which I decided to go ahead and show you what the black panels look like with the heat embossing that I recommend you try. But what I want to do is switch from the die cut with the rectangle to the little tiny circles, and you can move them and bend them like they would be, or you can leave them flat, whatever you would like. I am going to take the pink panel this time for just a change. You could add more layers to this if you wanted to mat it up and just really build them up. And here is my panel. So cute. With the sentiment white heat embossed. And this is the last one for the night. And notice I didn't even use the flower. It's so big. So there's lots of opportunities to throw that flower in there if you really want it. And I was going to go ahead and finish this one off. And that concludes this month's paper pumpkin. It has so many possibilities, and I hope that I have given you enough variety. I have paused to take photos. I have found that taking the photos as I am filming is the only way to make sure I capture what I'm doing, because by the time I am finished with all of these different layouts, then I try to go back and remake them, and I never get them right. So I will go away and do a little additional photography to make sure that I end up with my target, which is always 20 or more different layouts for you to consider. So let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any other ideas for using the strips of the envelopes that I perhaps missed or overlooked, I hope you enjoyed seeing those scraps actually put to use. I know that for months and months I have said, and here's all the scraps, and I might do one layout with them, but I've never actually taken all of the strips and done something with them. So this was a long one. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.